everybody, it's EK from EK Gorman Designs, and I am coming in today with the first of my 5 Fast cards, a 3-part series I do, create using White Rose Craft's brand new Vintage Romance Card Making and Craft Kit. In fact, this kit isn't so new anymore, and it's definitely sold out. It sold out within days of being released. And trust me when I say this kit is just creates itself. It's very vintagey. It's got a flair for romance, but it isn't Hearts and Flowers Valentine's Day. First thing I did today was cut up the 12x12 papers into 6x6 papers and then trimmed up all the ephemera that was in it. If you remember from my unboxing, or you missed my unboxing, I'll link it up here, but in my unboxing all the original papers were 12x12s. So now I'm cutting them down to make them usable, and each of the papers had a strip at the top that was going to be usable if you trim it up, and it's got some leftover papers here with the two-sidedness that I can use as scrap to add to my projects. So yeah, I've got everything trimmed down and ready to use. I'm doing something a little different with this project. Mainly I'm making some tags. When I make gifts, I love to put them in a plain brown gift sack and then put really elaborate gifts onto them. So I love doing tags at Christmas time, and this year I've decided I'm doing tags year-round for all occasions and all seasons. So I took a piece of the metallic cardstock and embossed it with the included embossing folder. And using the Forest Moss Distress Oxide pad that's included in the kit, I distressed the embossed tag. Now I'm taking some papers and creating layers onto the tag in a kind of nice way. I realized while I liked the color on the tag, it wasn't really distressed enough. So I pulled out the stamp set included in the kit and just kind of gently pressed the stamp onto the tag. If you're curious about this the Aspire Metallic cardstock, it actually takes ink really, really well. You just have to give it a second to let it dry, or it can smear. But once it dries, it totally locks on. Using some 3-dimensional tape, I added the paper, and I pulled out the jewel sheet and just kind of, girlied up my tag a little bit. And I used a little bit of 3-dimensional tape to add the decoupage, or the ephemera, the hand-trimmed ephemera. I adore these paper flowers, and it's so funny because once upon a time I was like, ugh, paper flowers. Ugh. Now I guess I'm singing a new tune in my old crafting age, because there's really something about them that just, I don't know, makes everything a little bit more special. And the leaf, I love how both the flower and the leaf just add a pop of color to this, making everything sort of come together. And if you haven't seen these new butterflies, they're included in the kit, but the collection of White Rose Craft has got a variety of colors, and they're really, really fun. Using my 1/8" hole punch, I can't find my 1/4" one, and it's driving me crazy because the 1/8", let's be honest, is not really quite thick enough, especially for this velvet ribbon that's included in the kit. But with some struggle and hard work, I made it work. And I just adore how well the ribbon coordinates with the kit. It's fascinating for a kit that has so many different brands within it. Everything really comes together beautifully. So there you go. There's my first project today, a tag that's just kind of a thinking of you anytime gift tag that you can include. For card 2, I die cut out of the Metallics cardstock using one of my big box brand tags, a long skinny tag, and I've inked up one of the included stamps from the stamp set, and I'm just around the edges. You can tell with what precision and perfect stamping. I'm not worried about that at all. I just want some distress edges around the edges. And I'm trimming up a piece of the printed paper to adhere over the tag. I did distress it with you know what's funny? When I first opened the kit and I saw that the ink pad was Forest Moss, I was like, I've never really gravitated to Forest Moss because I think it's kind of a mucky, junky color. I'm wrong. I'm 100% wrong. This is a really cool color, and with this project, it is the perfect addition to all these papers. Like, it just blends gorgeously onto everything, giving everything that vintage, distressed feel. I added a piece of the trimmed ephemera and then pulled out the lace ribbon from the ribbon pack, and I'm going to add it to the back of that little tiny piece because it just adds a bit of fit and flair. In hindsight, I wish I distressed the lace a little bit more with the Force Moss ink, but hindsight is a beautiful thing. I trimmed up one of the teeny tiny little butterflies, and I'm going to put him on there, but I realized I wanted something more, so using the Forest Moss Distress Oxide, I inked up the wood floral and just adhered it underneath, and then added my little dragonfly, and had a feeling that we could dangle the charm from the hole. So I picked the cuckoo clock, really for no reason other than the shape was kind of perfect, and pulled some of the ribbon to adhere everything together. In the same way, I wasn't quite certain how to use the Forest Moss when I first opened the kit. I wasn't quite certain how I was going to use the sticker sheet of bling. That was foolish because the sticker sheet of bling became hands down my favorite thing in all of these tags. Like, they just perfectly went with everything. On its own, it doesn't look like it's going to match, but once you just kind of sort of hit the corners with them, it's perfect. Anyway, there's my second project today. I hope you really like this tag. It's one of my favorites. For my third project, I am again making a tag, and I die cut out of some plain white cardstock one tag, and then I die cut again a piece of the printed paper and then adhered them together so that my tag in fact was the printed paper. And I made the hole significantly larger than it needed to be. It's an ugly hole. We can all agree it's an ugly hole, but I just needed it slightly bigger. Again, I'm going to do some stamping around the edges of this tag, and I love this leaf stamp. It's very organic feeling. I'm taking the sentiment from the long strip and trimming it down so it's kind of perfect. Sorry that I get off camera here. It's just, my desk is tighter than I want to pretend it is. Yeah, it just doesn't work. And I'm going to trim up some more of the ephemera and kind of use my paper cutter to cut it out because I'm being lazy and I hate fussy cutting more than anything. Am I the only one? Am I the only crafter who thinks fussy cutting is tedious? Like, I do it because it looks awesome. I don't enjoy doing it. Am I alone in this? Let me know in the comments below. So I trimmed up this piece of ephemera, and you're going to laugh. I don't use it because it didn't work. But I did pull out some of the buttons, and I love how perfect the color of the buttons are with the ink and the paper. And I'm just going to put them under the sentiment and let the sentiment be raised up by the buttons. And I love, by coincidence alone, I love how that leaf almost perfectly matches the stamped images. So I'm going to ink up the wood chip, and yeah, just rubbing it across the top of the ink pad, perfect. It absolutely works gorgeously. I'm going to add a piece of the ephemera that I trimmed up onto the tag. And I kind of at the last minute decided to round the two corners on one side just so they fit the tag. And I'm going to adhere down that wood chip leaf. And if you ever worried that the wood chips are difficult to adhere, it's not hard. I use glossy accents, but I've never had a problem with any glue getting the bits and the baubles to glue down. It's actually a whole lot easier than you would think. And finally, I'm going to add some ribbon. Oh, nope, sorry. I'm going to add a butterfly, but I'm going to do it upside down. When I first unboxed the butterflies, I was looking at them from the wrong end and thought they were gorgeous. And then I realized I was looking at them upside down. But that white butterfly I still think looks really, really cool. So I went ahead and adhered the butterfly on upside down. So here's where I'm going to distress the ribbon. And it took me a minute to figure out how, but the best way was just to press it into the top of the ink pad like my wood chips and just kind of run the ink through it. I didn't want it to be green. I wanted it to be stained and old, and I think it has a really cool effect in the end. And there you go. There's that tag. It's simple but classic. I wanted to do an alternative shape for this fourth project. So I pulled out an oval die cut, and it's just a simple, basic oval die cut I picked up at any big box store. And I'm going to have it go, not vertical, horizontal, so it's kind of an unusual shape for a tag. But then I'm going to, dreadedly fussy cut out this piece of ephemera and adhere it down onto the printed paper. But look, again, I'm going to bring up how that forest moss just makes all this paper sing with grace and passion. It's perfect. And I love how on this piece of wood chip, the flourishes of it like perfectly match the flourishes of the paper. Yeah, this kit really does, like, it creates itself. You don't have to put too much thought into and planning into making. You just kind of need to pull everything out and just go. It's so much fun to play with. And again, this kit is sold out. The White Rose Crafts will release their next kit in March. So make sure you keep your eyes open for the pre-sale week and when it officially launches on sale, because this one was sold out in I think 2 days. So if you're interested in playing along with one of these kits, you're going to need to make sure you act fast. I'm going to finish by adding a ribbon for the tag. And again, I'm fighting that itty bitty teeny little hole. And like I said, the velvet ribbon was hands down the most difficult to just kind of get through that hole because it's a very heavyweight ribbon. But it's gorgeous. Look how pretty that is. Yes, I knocked off my glue, and when the glue dried, that charm stays on perfectly fine. But there you go, there's my 4th project. And I don't know, I think it's pretty. My 5th project is one of my 5 fast cards. I pulled out the pink card frame with the matching envelope, and around the edges just did some more of that distress stamping with the included stamp set. I love the postage feel because you're able to use any corner of it and suddenly you've got this really cool texture on a flat background. Over the top, I'm going to add a piece of the printed paper. And I was really afraid that I'd gone too girly with pink on pink, but in the end, I hadn't. I embossed the piece of the cardstock and then used my ink just to distress the edges and adhered it down within 3-dimensional squares. I like when things pop up. I know they're a little harder to mail, but they're so pretty. And then I'm going to add a little bit of the ephemera right on top. On one side I'm going to add flat ink, and on the other side I'm going to add the same dimensional tape just so it pops up where it hangs off. And where I feared I was going too girly with this card, by the time I add the embossed piece and the ephemera piece, it wasn't girly at all. Now, I wasn't quite certain how to make this one work. I wanted to use one of the circles, and so I cut it in half and just adhered it so it was sticking out under the sides there, like under the raised part, and then I pulled out the other half and did the same on the second side. You can see me struggle a little bit, and in the end I just kind of trimmed the corners and popped it in, and it almost worked. Didn't quite, but maybe only I know that. I'm going to finish the project with one of the buttons, and I'm actually going to take some of that orange twine and just pull it through the button in a traditional button manner. Fascinating when I use things the way they're actually intended, and make a cool little knot with the orange thread. I'm going to adhere it down, and I love the way those buttons layer onto each other. Trim up the simple cording, and add one last piece of fussy cut ephemera. This one's the little butterfly, and it's hard to see, but I really like in person how good it looks next to it. I'm going to put just a glue adhesive dot onto it and add it to the project. And there you go, there's my final card for the day. I think it came out really pretty, and I look forward to giving it to someone. Anyway, there's the first 5 cards. Stay tuned, there's 2 more parts in this series. Watch what else I can do with this vintage romance kit. Until then, let me know in the comments what your favorite project was today, which one of the tags or cards were hands down your favorites. Until then, happy crafting, everybody.